Good morning, CSL family. We're so happy you're here with us, and we're also happy that Andy Byron is here with us this morning. Enjoy.
Moon shining bright on my Idaho home far away. Wind hums a tune round my Idaho home, hear it play, hear it play. I have been caught in the eye of a storm, and it's real. Like a flower in bloom, now I'm soaking up the sun, that's how I feel, how I feel. And don't you let it rain on my parade, 'cause I just wanna stay right here where I am. And I don't forget how lucky I am on this road. Too many souls out lost in the dark, let's lead 'em home, lead 'em home. And don't you let it rain on my parade, 'cause I just wanna stay right here where I am. Dig deep, you'll find love in your heart, let it sing. Then watch how it grows in each one you touch. Can't have too much of a good thing, a good thing. And don't you let it rain on your parade. And don't you wanna stay right here where we are? Don't you let it rain on your parade. And don't you wanna stay right here where we are? The moon shining bright on my Idaho home far away. Wind hums a tune round my Idaho home, hear it play. Come on, let's play.
Byron's in the house this morning. Andy Byron. Singing about our beautiful home, Boise, Idaho. He knows that's one of my favorite songs, yes? Yes, one of my favorite songs that Andy does. So welcome, those of you who are with us on Facebook and those who are with us in the sanctuary, safely distancing and masking up. We're so grateful and happy and joyful to have you with us this morning on this last Sunday in August. Now, I don't know how y'all feel, but this has been the longest month of my life. Usually I take some time off in August, but this pandemic had a different idea, so here we are. I am so glad to welcome you as we welcome our magnificent house band. First of all, moving so we can see the magnificent Rex Miller, our director and musical director, yes, who puts all of this together. And then we have Phil Bowden, our drummer, keeping the beat for all of us, and Ted McClurg, who is our bass guitarist, yes, bringing that low sound, that wonderful sound to all of us. And this morning, you've already heard him. Most of you know him. And if you don't know him, you really, really want to follow Andy Byron. He is, listen, I embarrass him every time he's here because, first of all, I talk about how handsome he is. Then I talk about how smart he is. Then I talk about how brilliant he is with financial. That's what he really does for a living, is help people understand their wealth. That goes right along with our philosophy, Andy, because we believe in abundance and prosperity in this faith. And so Andy Byron is a, what is your title?
Financial advisor.
Financial advisor, yes. And he helps people know what to do, and you know, those who are getting close to retirement. And and others, he helps us with our finances. But and he loves doing that, don't you, Andy? Don't you love bringing people to their financial magnificence? But in addition to that, his true passion in life, of course, is his music. And God has gifted Andy Byron, us, and his home church, the synagogue, with one of the most amazing musicians I have ever heard. And unfortunately, this pandemic has kind of destroyed a lot of your plans for 2020 and early 2021, right? Andy Byron, of course, is the genius behind the Americana Music Series, where he brings icons of the American music to Boise, Idaho, to perform for us. And, of course, so much had to be canceled this year. And, of course, he always gets to open for the big ones, and those got canceled too, huh? So here we are. But listen, everybody. What do you need the Taco Bell Arena for when you've got the CSL Boise? I'm just saying. Also behind the camera this morning, we have Cheryl Houdan working with us, making us all look good on Facebook Live. And JJ Bullock is your board representative, who is here doing all the legal things and welcoming. So thank you all for being with us this morning. So now this is our time for us just to gently take a little moment. Yeah, and just breathe in, if you would. Take a deep breath with me. Those of you in the sanctuary, those of you at home or watching this from wherever you are. I do this every Sunday because this pandemic has brought an awareness to us about our body temple, how precious, how important, how supportive our body is. And so this morning, Sunday mornings, I like us to consciously thank our body for its strong immune system, keeping us safe in this thing called pandemic. Focus on your body temple for a moment, and in deep gratitude and thanksgiving, check in on your body. Say thank you. Thank those strong lungs breathing in and out, so healthy. And send out a prayer to those around our world that may not be as fortunate as we are right now. And now check in on your mind, your mental state. Do you feel safe, loved, and supported? Give thanks for your support system that is around you, for your strong mental energy. And give thanks now for your open heart, filled with love. As we move into our spiritual practices with our beloved practitioner, Diana Anderson, say thank you, body, mind, and heart.
Good morning. It's my honor to introduce Margie Strong, who will light the World Religions candles from the Christ candle. In religious science, we perform this ceremony to acknowledge that all people and all faiths come from the one great universal presence that we call Spirit. In lighting these candles, we honor the one family of humanity made up of over 4,000 religions and spiritual traditions throughout the world. We light the first candle for the Native American religions. From the Sioux prayer, we learn to interact with all creation and to walk the sacred path. We light the second candle for Hinduism. Here we learn we need to show compassion to all living things. Compassion is the root of all religious faiths. We light the third candle for the Christian faith, which teaches the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light the fourth candle for Buddhism. Buddha said, "Whoever by a good deed covers the evil done, such a one illuminates this world like the moon freed from the clouds." The fifth and final candle honors New Thought. New Thought honors the metaphysical path of healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. So let us quiet our minds and open our hearts to the spiritual message being sung by Andy Byron, a song which perfectly expresses the message of religious science, of a world that works for everyone. Here's Andy Byron with "Living in the Promised Land."
Give us your tired and weak, we will make them strong. Bring us your foreign song, we will sing along. Leave us your broken dreams, give them time to mend. There's still a lot of love living in the promised land. Living in the promised land. Our dreams are made of steel. The prayer of every man is to know how freedom feels. And there is a winding road across the shifting sand, and room for everyone living in the promised land. They came from a distant isle, aimless woman, faithless child, like a bad dream. Until there was no room at all, no place to run, no place to fall. Give us your daily bread. Have no shoes to wear, no place to call our own, only this cross to bear. We are the multitude, lend us a helping hand. Is there no love anymore? sand, and room for everyone living in the promised land, and room for everyone living in the promised land.
Please pray with me as we recognize that Spirit is everywhere present. And we are all living in the promised land right now because God is everywhere present. The life, the love, the beauty, the joy, all is God. And we are one with this. Within us, we contain all the attributes of Spirit. We are made of Spirit. And the promise of Spirit is that we are perfection, we are love, we are compassion. So right now, from this place of oneness, from this place of promise, I speak my word for this service. I bless everyone who is hearing our voice, seeing this service, here present, all the hands putting this service together. No matter where we are all one. And I especially bless our minister, Reverend Jackie Holland, as she comes up and speaks her word, a word inspired by Spirit, for which she has done her preparation and now steps aside and lets Spirit speak through her. Divine inspiration. We are so grateful. As I release my word into the law, and maybe we all say together or to ourselves, Om, Shanti, Ashe, Aho, Amen, and so it is. Thank you. Here's Andy again.
Jackie and I were talking about what would be a good song for right now in these times, and we thought this was like the perfect number with so much of what's going on right now. So it's amazing how old Dylan songs are as relevant today as they've ever been. Come gather around people wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, and you better start swimming or you sink like a stone, for the times they are a change. Who prophesize with your pen, and keep your eyes wide, the chance won't come again. And don't speak too soon, for the wheel's still in spin. There's no telling who that it's naming, for the loser now will later to win, for the times they are a change. Senators, congressmen, please heed the call. And don't stand in the doorway, don't block up the hall. For he that gets hurt will be he who has stalled. The battle outside is raging. It will soon shake your windows and rattle your walls. For the times they are changing. sons and your daughters are beyond your command. Your old road is rapidly aging. Get out of the new one if you can't lend a hand, for the times they are changing. Line it is drawn, the curse it is cast. The slow one now will later be fast, and the present now will later be past. The order is rapidly fading, and the first one now will later be last, for the times they are a-changing.
Times are a-changing. The times are a-changing. Thank you, Andy. Yes, when Andy called me last night, it was interesting because I was struggling with this last week of the month, and not having any inspiration. And he said, I've never sung this song before, but I want to try it. Andy, you were great. Wasn't he great? Thank goodness times have changed. I'm just going to tell you, thank goodness times have changed and are changing. Last night, I spoke to, many of you know Beth Ambrose. She's the wonderful woman who's the brains behind getting all this concrete done. She and Harold Whitman, that's been done around the church. For those of you here, you notice all of our new concrete work. It's really quite wonderful. People are safe now. We feel good. Anyway, it was her birthday, and I was speaking to Beth yesterday, last evening, and I said to her, you know, Beth, in these lofty years that you have lived, what is the one thing that has astonished you, that has amazed you? And we spoke about that, about changes, the changes that she has seen in her life. I love to ask that question on somebody's birthday. What is the one thing in the years that you have lived that you would say is the most amazing thing that you have borne witness to in your lifetime? Think about that right now. I remember having a conversation with my grandmother Reimer, who was born when there were no airplanes, and she did not take an airplane ride till she was well into her almost 70s. She, of course, was born in a time where there were no telephones, no televisions, no airplanes. Can you imagine? Those, especially those of you that are a little bit younger, you have no concept. Imagine growing up and witnessing the changes. Well, I think that the last few months have really brought a lot of changes to us. Have you noticed that change seems to be inevitable? That no matter what we do, we are not going to stop change. Why do you think that's true? I think it's because, as religious scientists, we know this, that Spirit, God, the Creator, whatever name you want to call it, is forever and ever expressing itself. It desires to express itself in greater and greater ways through us. And therefore, change on our part is required so that Spirit can express itself in a new and greater way. And because each of us has a spark of divinity in our core, that's who we are, God in expression, we are individualizations of the divine here expressing. Because we have that spark in us, we too want to more fully and completely be realized. And that takes change. That takes change, whether we realize it or not. So there's something in us that is always urging us forward, always urging us more, always urging us greater. Our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, said this: we constantly discard old ideas and take on new and better ones. The mind gives us no rest. We constantly discard old ideas and take on new ones. The mind never gives us rest, he wrote. He said, the instinct urges us on. Our intuition draws us upward. He also said, the desire arises from the necessity of the universe to become self-expressed. The necessity of the universe to become self-expressed through you. So no matter how hard we try to keep things the same, no matter how hard we try not to change, the reality is this: the universe is constantly trying to express itself in greater and greater ways through us, and therefore change happens. And over the last few months, change has happened at the speed of light. In conversations with people recently, we've talked about how our lives have changed over the last few months, and wondering when this pandemic comes to its inevitable conclusion, as it will. I promise it will. What will our lives be like then? Will the changes that we have made to adjust to the universe expressing itself in this thing called pandemic, will those changes be permanent? Or will we discard them for a greater and grander idea? Things have changed, and thank goodness that they have. You know how I love to do research. Okay, you guys know how I love to do research. So I want you to listen to some research that I did about times that have changed. In the 1500s, people, your ancestors, your great-great-great-grandmamas and granddaddies, cooked in a big kettle that always hung over a fire in their stove. And every day, not a stove, but over their fireplace, a big kettle, a big black pot would hang over this fire. And every day they would throw food in it, whatever they had, whatever vegetables they were able to harvest, whatever meat that they were able to go out and get. Every day they would add things to the pot. Now, they mostly ate vegetables, as you know, so there wasn't a lot of meat in it. But just think about this. They would eat that stew for dinner. They would leave the leftovers in the pot to get cold overnight. And then the next morning they would start over again. So sometimes the stew had food in it that had been there for quite a while, people. Okay, we don't want to think about this too closely. But from this came the rhyme: peas porridge hot, peas porridge cold, peas porridge in the pot, 9 days old. That's where it came from. Sometimes the food would be there that long. Sometimes they would obtain pork, and pork was considered, we're talking about the early 1500s. Pork was considered like valuable, and so they would hang it up in their house so that anybody who came to see them would see that they were wealthy, that they were able to afford pork. And sometimes they would, cut pieces off of it. But from that arose the saying, bring home the bacon, that the man in the house will bring home the bacon. And as a very special treat, they would cut a little piece of it off to share with their gifts, and then they would all sit around and chew the fat. Haven't you always wondered where these things came from? Times have changed. Thank goodness. I can barely eat leftovers the next day. Sometimes I look at those green beans and think, how long have you been in this refrigerator? Let me think about you. Lead cups during this time, of course, were used to drink ale or whiskey. And so the combination of the lead and the poisoning and the alcohol, the lead poisoning and the alcohol would sometimes knock people over, and they would pass out, and they'd be laying on the streets, and so people would walk and think that they were dead, and so they would haul them home, lay them out, and hold watch for a few days for them. They would lay them out on the kitchen table. Yes, the same kitchen table that they cooked their peas porridge cooked. No, okay. They were laid out on the table for a couple of days, and the family would gather around and eat and drink and wait to see if they would wake up, thereby awake. The custom of holding awake. In England, again, times have changed, aren't we glad? They started running out of places to bury people, so they would dig up some of the coffins, and they would see that people had actually scratched to get out, that people had been buried alive, and they had been buried alive. So they decided to tie a string onto the wrist of the corpse, run it through the coffin, up through the ground, and tie it to the bell. Somebody would be assigned to sit in the graveyard all night long to listen to see if the bell would ring. Thereby the word "saved by the bell" or "he's a dead ringer" was birthed. Thank goodness times have changed. But I just want to tell you, if you really want to listen, look at all my research. If you really want to hear, you really want to research this. 100 years ago, 54% of our population lived on the farms. Now, much less than 20%. I think it's like about 18%. We communicated, listen, when I was growing up, our television, and we were one of the first people in our town to have a television, in the 70s. Now, how many of you, by show of hand in this room, were born after 1970? So, okay, we have some old people like me in this room. No, we have a couple of young people. But the point I want to make is, I laugh because we only had 2 channels on the television, and I was often the remote. My daddy would say, get those rabbit ears and move them over here. And I would move them. I was the remote. Go change the channel. It was very funny. The electronic television wasn't invented until 1927, by the way, by an Idaho farm boy. Did y'all know that? Idaho farm boy. His name was Philo Farnsworth. He got the idea while plowing a field of potatoes. I'm going to research that. As for telephones, 100 years ago, after the telephone was invented, only 30% of the households have them. How many people today don't have a phone? Think about what 100 years has done. Refrigerators weren't invented until 1913. We shopped. Back in 100 years ago, how do you think they shopped? Frankly, the same way they're shopping today. The pandemic has brought us back 100 years ago. 100 years ago, you shopped by the Sears Roebuck catalog or others, and it was delivered to you. And today, of course, we're on the internet, so I think that's kind of funny. Of course, from 300 BC until the 1800s, people used horses and carts. In 1918, people had rough living and working conditions. World War I, the pandemic. So the life expectancy in 1918 was 36 years old for men and 42 years for women. Wow. Today, by the way, you want to know how long you're going to live? It's 79 years for men. You getting close, anybody? And 81 for women. 100 years ago, the Eiffel Tower was the tallest structure on Earth at 984 feet. But today, I can't say it, we have one that is 2,722 feet tall. I mean, really. 100 years ago, teenagers did not exist. Did you know that? The word teenager did not exist 100 years ago. Between the age 13 and 19, they were on Earth, obviously they were, but they did not become called teenagers until they started going to secondary school, and that wasn't until the 1940s. Most of the kids did not go to school. Only 19% of the kids 100 years ago went on to secondary schools after elementary schools. And 100 years ago, only 9% of the population graduated. By the way, for those of you who care, I don't. 100 years ago, there was no NFL. 100 years ago, birth control was brand new, and people were going to jail for 30 days because they were supporting birth control. Margaret Sanger actually coined the word. Groceries were cheaper. Bread was 10 cents. Butter was 68 cents. Eggs were 63 cents. We could sell your eggs. Yep. But that sounds great, doesn't it? But the average family only took in $1,500 a year and saved less than 100. Model Ts. Oh, this is important to a lot of people in this room. 100 years ago, alcohol was illegal. Movies were silent. Irving Berlin was on the radio. Women still couldn't vote. Exactly 100 years ago this year, women finally got the vote, 1920. Minimum wage did not exist 100 years ago. The unemployment rate 100 years ago was 2%. The bad news about that, more people were working, but managers didn't have to pay them very much. There were no child labor laws 100 years ago. You could run children to the ground if you wanted to. Mass-produced foods were brand new. 100 years ago, Kellogg's Corn Flakes started appearing on the shelves. Nabisco introduced Oreos 100 years ago. And moon pies came about 100 years ago because a coal miner told a bakery salesman he wanted a snack as big as the moon. I love that. Oh, this could be important to some of you. Marijuana, morphine, and heroin were sold over the counter 100 years ago. Hospital stays were long, but nobody really cared about you. Hospital births were not common. 95% of children were born at home 100 years ago, and penicillin was still a decade away 100 years ago. Okay, but this was the most important thing I want to say. Thank God, Allah, Buddha, and all that be, that times have changed. Because 100 years ago, only 14% of the homes had a bathtub. Most women only wash their hair once a month using borax and egg yolks. Yes, things have changed. And things are continuing to change at rapid speed. But as religious scientists, we really want to call forth change. We want to consciously bring forth change and not have it forced on us. So this morning I want to take a few minutes and look at the ways that we bring change into our lives. Why? As New Thought, ancient wisdom people, why do we know that change happens for us? The number one reason, of course, for change in our life, it can all be summed up in one word or one headline, which is called the law of attraction. The law of attraction says that you will attract that to you which you are giving energy, which you are putting your attention on, that you are focusing on, that you're energetically bringing into your life. So the law of attraction works in all of the things that I'm going to talk about right now. The reasons that we have change, conscious change in our life. The first reason is hold your breath. We attract what we are. Ouch. We attract what we are. Now, this is hard. Everything, every person, every place, every animal, every business has a mental atmosphere of its own, and so do you. If everything has a mental attitude of its own, energy surrounding it, and so do you, what do we know about energy? It attracts. So we attract what we are. Now I know some of you are sitting here saying, no, Reverend Jackie, stop it. I did not attract he or she that did me wrong. I did not attract this illness. I did not. I know this is hard. I'm just telling you what we teach. We have to take this teaching. We have to personalize it for ourselves. We have to take what works for us. We have to take what we're ready to hear. And then we plant the seeds for later. But the fact is, we attract what we are in that moment. That doesn't mean that you're that all the time. We attract what we are. In Ernest Holmes, in the Science of Mind text, in the chapter called The Law of Attraction, he says this: we each automatically attract to ourselves just what we are, and we may sit it down wherever we are. However intolerable the situation may be, we are just where we belong. No matter how intolerable the situation may be, we are just where we belong. Now, I know how harsh that sounds. Believe you me, when I first came into religious science and somebody said that to me, I was like, I am out of here. Where is the compassion? Where is the understanding? Where is the love? So I want to tell you that we say this with compassion. It's a little harsh. It's a little harsh. We each automatically attract to ourselves just what we are, and we may sit it down wherever we are. However intolerable the situation may be, we are just where we belong. He is saying that we belong there by right of consciousness, that our consciousness brought us there, and our consciousness can take us to a different place. But we are where we should be in that moment, because we are operating from that place when we're spiritually asleep, when we're spiritually separated from truth, when we don't know how to use the law. So we're right where we are attracting to us what we are. And I'm going to tell you, I am living proof of that. For years and years and years and years, I lived from a victim consciousness. I loved my victim consciousness. It got me lots of attention and sympathy and compassion and, oh yeah, me too kind of things. But what I was attracting was exactly that. Partners that tended to treat me like a victim. Jobs where I could easily victimize myself. As long as I stayed in that place, I was attracting everything to me that I was. Wow. And if we don't like where we are, if we don't like what we are, we can change it. It's simple but not easy, as Ernest Holmes says. And we can begin to consciously court change in our lives. Ernest Holmes went on to write this: there is no power in the universe but ourselves that can free us. There is no power in the universe but ourselves that can free us. Thus, he said, we should definitely daily, using our own name, declare the truth about ourselves, realizing that we are reflecting into our statements that which we want to reflect into consciousness, and that consciousness will then operate upon it. I want you to hear what I'm trying to say. Every day, consciously speak into the law, the truth of who you are. Using your name, he said, I, Jackie Holland, am a loving, healthy, vibrant woman. I want you right now, those of you at home, those of you in the room, I, fill in your name to yourself, am, speak the truth, I am. And now let it go, because the universe is going to act on it. We attract to us that which we are. Secondly, we attract that which we desire and that which we do not desire. Once again, this is the law of attraction. And how you want to decide which one is going to attract change to you, changes you want or changes you don't want, listen up. It's easy. It's easy. Which has more emotion? Which has more energy for you? I don't want COVID. I don't want COVID. I don't want COVID. Or I am healthy. I am vibrant. I am healthy. I am strong. Which one has your energy? Which one has your emotion? My friends, that is the change you will attract. So I want you to think about changes that you want to bring about in your life and ask yourself this question: on which one do I have more energy? On which one do I have more emotion? Ernest Holmes, once again, our founder, said this: we have the ability to choose what we will do with our lives, and we are unified with the law which automatically produces our choices. While we do not have the ability to destroy the idea of ourselves, we do have the ability to deface it and to make it appear discordant. But we cannot destroy the divine image. We can make ourselves look less than we really are. We can put the dirt and grit of the journey. We can distort the truth, but we can never change that divine spark that is within us. Because he went on to say this, I think the most important words perhaps that I needed to hear when I was new in religious science. He said, we live in a universe of love as well as a universe of law. We live in a universe of love as well as a universe of law. One is the complement of the other. The universe of love pulsating with feeling, with emotion, and the universe of law, the executor of all feeling and all emotion. Think about this. Think about this for just a minute. When you are asking for change, or when you are asking for your life to be different, if you can, if I can, if we can, recognize that we are operating in love and law, and that if we can love ourselves through whatever it is that's going on, we can love ourselves through the dis-ease, the cancer, if we can love ourselves through the disruption in relationships, if we can find a way to love what is going on in our life, then the law will act on that love quickly. And it will create for us that which we are loving. Now, I'm telling you this. The reason I'm telling you this is a conversation that I had with our practitioner of the day, Diana Anderson. Now, Diana Anderson and I share a very liberal, progressive perspective on the world and politics. So, with Diana, I can... And my practitioner, Diana Anderson, on the phone this week reminded me of something. She said, you know, Reverend Jackie, I'm with you. I hear you. I get you. She said, but until we bring the light to this, nothing is going to change. And she wasn't just talking about politics. She was talking about other things. That's what made me begin the nucleus of this talk. We live in a universe of love and law. And the universe wants to act on love. It wants to. Because it is attracted to love. It is love. Again, because the universe, spirit, God, infinite intelligence, whatever word you want to use, attracts that which is like itself, and it is love. Therefore, it is casting its intelligence, if we could personalize it for just a moment, out into the world to find those places of love, of understanding, of peace. And then it can magnify it. It can magnify it. It can magnify it. Charles Fillmore, the great unity teacher, of course, founder, in his talks on truth said this: many who have found the law of true thinking and its effect wonder why supply does not come to them after months and years of holding thoughts of bounty. He wrote, it is because they have not developed love. He said they have formed the right image in mind, but the magnet that draws the substance from the storehouse of being, love, has not been set into action. So I want to say this. We teach us over and over, affirm, pray, meditate, affirm. And if you say, I've been doing it, Reverend Jackie, for 5 years, it's not working, then the question must be, have I found a place of love in this? Or is my affirmation, I want, I need, I must have, gimme, from a place of fear? Or is it from a place of love? I am willing and receptive to receive all the bounty that God has in store for me. Thank you, gratitude and love. The universe will respond. It's going to respond to both emotions, I assure you. But one's going to give you what you desire. Well, and it's possible, maybe we hold ourselves back because we want to stay being victims. And that is our desire. Just ask yourself the question. Another way we attract change is that we attract those things into our lives that have healings for us. We attract something in our lives that has a healing for us. This is so important. We attract what we are. We attract what we want and we don't want. And we attract that which has a healing for us. Now this is hard, especially for someone who may be in this room that has been dealing with issues of the body temple. This is difficult, but it's very important. That spark of the divinity that is within us, that wants to express itself, will pull things into our experience to allow us to heal from a false belief. Illness is a false belief. Illness is a belief in something that is less than perfection. I have it. By the way, you know how wonderful it is to stand up here on Sunday and tell y'all how it is. Like everybody should know this stuff. And the bottom line to everything that we teach you here is that we're all on this journey together. None of us have reached the pinnacle of perfection, I don't think. If you have, please come. I need some speakers. But the reality is, this is a hard one for me, especially, because yes, we attract to us the things that can help us heal from false beliefs. Ignorance, separation, so that spirit can shine through us more brightly. In religious science, you hear this all the time. What's your lesson in this? Or we've tried to soften it a little bit lately, and we try to say, what is your gift in this? The reality is, let's put it in English. It is that the universe is bringing something for us to heal a false belief. Perhaps it's a belief in fear. Perhaps it's a belief, I cannot tell you what yours is. I only know what mine is. The universe will reach its hand out to us. It'll give us classes and churches and things for us to get our attention. It'll hold its hand out to us. It'll tap us on the shoulder. It'll give us a little shove. And then finally, it'll hit us with a proverbial 2x4 until we learn our lessons. Anybody have that experience? And how many hundreds of times have I? And in retrospect, of course, I look back and say, oh, MG, all along I was being given this message. Why didn't I listen? It's okay. Author C.S. Lewis once pointed out, I love this quote. He said, it may be hard for an egg to turn into a bird. It may be hard for an egg to turn into a bird, but it is a jolly sight harder for it to fly while remaining an egg. We can't keep being good eggs, he wrote. We can't go on forever being just good eggs. We must hatch or go bad. Life is a process of growth. So this is what I know. This is what I know. Spirit wants to express greater, and that requires change. There's no such thing as positive growth without change. So if we want greater freedom, we want to experience the things that we want, we have to experience change. And if change is happening, that means you're sifting, that means you're shifting, that means you're growing, and it's okay. I want to say this to you. It's okay. You can trust the Creator that brought you here. You can trust life. You can trust yourself in this change. And you can trust God. I promise you, whatever is going on, no matter how great or extensive the outward change may be, you can trust that that which is within you is changeless. The life of God never changes. Never changes. So don't be disturbed by things in your personal life that's changing, in your human expression, because that which is within you is unchangeable and is perfect and is whole. My grandmother used to say, Jackie. No, she used to say Jacqueline, which meant she was mad at me. She would say, Jacqueline, God never gave you more than you could handle. Mother Teresa said, I just wish God didn't trust me so much. Sometimes I feel that way. Thank you, God. And finally, I want to tell you this. We attract by what we are, who we are. We attract that which we want and do not want. We attract into our life changes so that we can heal. And we attract change into our lives because we have a healing to give to someone else or the world. We attract what we have to give a healing to the world. My mother, when she was in her 60s, had an issue with one of her veins and lost her leg, her right leg. I believed that that was the end of my mother's life. My mother had been an active, fun, loving. If anybody met Faye Lucille Holland, I swear to you, you would say, "Oh God, what a firecracker Faye Lucille Robinson Holland was." They would have told you that. And with the loss of my mother's leg, her life was over as far as she could tell. In the beginning, she wouldn't fight. She wouldn't struggle to learn to walk. She wouldn't do the things that her 4 daughters were begging her, pushing her, and sometimes threatening her to get her to do what she needed to do. It was none of that. We could not do for Mother what we knew Mother had to do for herself. In the hospital, a nurse came into my mother's hospital room, And she said to my mother, "Oh, you know, you have such a wonderful attitude. You have such a beautiful smile. You're so upbeat." It wasn't true, but the nurse was saying that. And the nurse said to her, "I'm wondering, Faye, would you be willing to talk to other amputees? Other people, especially women, mothers who have lost their legs or other parts of their body." And with that, my mother's purpose became very clear. She woke up, she learned to dance, she learned to drive, she learned to run. I mean, my mother, because she had a healing to give to others. Now, I'm not saying that's why Mama attracted what happened to her. I'm not saying that. I don't want to go there. But I just want to say to you that if there are things in your life and you can't figure out, why did I bring this change? It's not who I am. It's not what I want. It's not what I don't want. I don't need to be healed from this. You might ask the question, then perhaps this is for me to offer a healing to others and to the world. When you're looking at change, you have to ask yourself, especially in this area, perhaps this is brought to me so that I can support others, that I can heal others. How many hundreds of people have I talked to that have gone through life-changing diseases of the body temple, circumstances, situations, strokes, concussions, other things. And the reason that they went through that became very clear to them later was because they then became the instruments of healing for others. I don't know why your change is coming to you. I don't know what your change is, but I do know this, and I'm just going to tell you, I know this. Don't resist change, whatever form it's coming in. But give thanks for the change. Stand in gratitude for the change. Don't be afraid of it, but be ready for it. Be open and receptive and say, okay, throw it at me, life. I can take it. And I can take it for myself, and I can take it for other people that can't take it for themselves. Because maybe the change is coming for you so that you can make a difference for other people that can't take the changes or cannot make the changes, affect the changes in the world. Another shooting in Portland. Senseless deaths. Maybe change is coming for us to bring a healing to this world for people who cannot affect the change, no matter how hard they try. You change because of who you are. You change because of what you want and what you do not want. You bring changes to your life for a healing for yourself, and you bring changes. You attract changes. Perhaps you didn't know you were doing it so that you could heal the world. So I'm asking all of us to reach down deep as we move within. Let's just move within for a moment. Take a deep breath with me and be willing to speak into the universe the truth of who we are. Who are you? I. Say your name. Speak your name and speak the truth to the universe. I want to give you another opportunity to do it now. I. Say your name to the universe. Am. Speak the truth. Let the universe work on this with love, with joy. Let the universe express itself through you. And as we end this month of change, I ask for you to reach deep now. Those at home and here, reach deep and ask yourself, am I willing to embrace change so that I can express more life, more freedom, greater good? Am I willing to move through change so that I can experience the miracles that God has in store for me and for all of humanity. And if you can say yes to this, you're on your way. Change is happening. Change is gonna come. And so this morning, as we move within, recognizing the one power, the one presence, the one life, that is Spirit, known by so many different names, followed by so many different paths, but we know that this expression of the Creator is love. And we know without one moment of doubt that the life of God and my life, your life, is one. That we are all connected in this thing called family. The family of humankind. One family. And so this morning I speak my prayer of affirmation, wholeness, and perfection for all the individuals in the Gulf Coast that continue to experience the ravages of the hurricane. I speak my word for peace in Portland and elsewhere around our country where there is so much violence. I speak my word for our young people right now, for divine wisdom, infinite intelligence to guide, direct, support, and sustain them right now. And all people, not just our young people, but all people. Speak the name of Jacob Blake and his family. I surround the people in California where the fires are with love and protection and safety, particularly our fire people. Those professionals putting their lives on the line. We mourn the loss of Chadwick Boseman today. An amazing actor, humanitarian, activist. And in gratitude, we release him to his next expression in God. And I speak my word for the 25 million cases of coronavirus around our world, the 183,000 deaths in the United States, the 5,986,000 cases in the United States, and the almost 32,000 cases in Idaho. I speak my word for wholeness and healing for all people. And I say, thank you, Spirit. Thank you, God. Thank you, life. In love and gratitude, we release it now. And we let it go. And so it is. Amen. 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 Take a deep breath, deep cleansing breath, and release it now. And turn to someone in the sanctuary or just look right in the camera as we salute you. Namaste. Good morning. We salute the peace, the love, and the Christ consciousness in you. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. I'm sorry that we're running over today, but I had to give you all those statistics. So this is our conscious giving time. I'm going to move very quickly into our conscious giving time. For those in the sanctuary, there'll be a basket as you're leaving. For those at home, just know that we have received your gifts, your offering. You can go online, and I think it's being streamed right now, how you can give to us electronically. Thank you for your extra support, for those of you who are willing to support us with this outstanding expense with our concrete. I just very quickly, as I'm getting ready to take it up, want to say if you wish to receive prayer, those of you in the sanctuary, fill out a prayer request card. Put it in the basket as you're leaving. Our practitioners will pray with you. You can find a card in the back of the seats. Those of you who are online, go to prayers@cslboise.org, prayers@cslboise.org, or call any of the practitioners that are letting you know that they are ready to pray with you right now. And if you join us after service for our Zoom hospitality, again, it's all on the stream, or go to cslboise.org for information. We pray with you online after church in our Zoom hospitality, and we do a check-in, and we just get to know each other. If you're visiting with us, I don't believe we have visitors, so I won't talk about our connection card. But if you're new to us on Facebook, please do go to cslboise.org and fill out a connection card so we can put you on our e-blast. That's the best way to know what's happening in our center. I know there's a lot of announcements. Oh, one very quick one I want to make to those of you who are out there. If you are an expert in Facebook Live, or not even an expert, but if it's something that you know about, we need your help. We really would like to talk to you, to consult with you about where this church should move into its next generation as we move forward. If you are a social media person and it's something that you want to help your church move forward with, please call the church. All of that information is on our website once again. Please call. Also, I want to make an appeal that in the next week or so, we have some pretty heavy-duty work that needs to be done around the church. So for any of you men that like to haul and shovel dirt, or any of you men who want to help us, and women who want to help us, would you please call the church, or if you know Beth Ambrose, call Beth Ambrose. But we're going to need a little bit of help in the next week, doing some heavier things around the church, resulting from having the concrete done. You know what it's like with one project? It opens up 20 more. You know, it's like, oh, the concrete's done. Oh, and now there's, all that to do. So we need some help. So thank you very much. Just call the church. Let's take our gift, our offering in our hand. Ed, would you be our collector? As I say, and you just take into your heart, divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate. And so it is. Amen. Amen, amen. And you're doing the Shalom right now, right? I want to tell you that Andy Byron has an amazing repertoire of music. And sometimes I think, poor Andy, because he comes to this church and he says, what do you want to hear? And I always want to hear the same things. I don't know why. Andy sings as our Jewish cousins, brothers and sisters and cousins, are beginning in the next few weeks to move into the holiest, the high holidays of the Jewish season. I want us all to be holding our Jewish cousins in our hearts. Can you imagine what it is like to be celebrating holidays where normally you're together in a different way? And now all the rabbis that I've been talking to are trying to frantically find ways to bring community together in their high holy days. So I've asked Andy to sing for us a wonderful song, and I want to tell you what the translation is. They who make peace in their high places, may they bring peace upon us and upon all Israel. Andy Byron.
Say shalom b'momah. Oh, yeah, say shalom
So, as we come down from that great energy, I want to share a blessing from Chief Dan George. May the stars carry your sadness away. May the flowers fill your heart with beauty. May hope forever wipe away your tears. So go forth this weekend in peace and attract your good. Shalom.
Thank you.